about this situation or this person being with this other person that is triggering me, and how do I work on me? Because it's easy to say, like in monogamy, this person is talking to this other person and it's making me upset, so I'm gonna tell this person to stop talking to that other person because this person's mine. And I'm like, no, that's not the solution to the problem. The problem is to sit with yourself and figure out what is it about this situation that you need to work on, right? Now I can understand if the person is being disrespectful or something. That's a whole other story. But
we're not talking about the disrespectful people. We're talking about the people that just say hi, or the people that are just having a
just friendly people. Yeah,
just friendly conversation, and your trigger is to automatically be like, "Yo, I'm gonna punch you in the throat because you talking to way too many females."
Right, like that.
You know what I mean?
Relationships are mirrors. Okay, let me sit down and look at myself. Listen, what do I have going on up in here?
Yeah, so it's like, it's a whole bunch of things. And it was like, yo, I remember I was dating somebody and it was like, yo, and it was one of those people that actually taught me that, oh, you come off as a very jealous person. And I was like, for the longest, I didn't see myself that way. Didn't. But it took that one individual who I was dating at the time, and they were like, bye. So then it was like, ooh, that's different. But I like that person.
They were bisexual? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they were. So it's like they with me, but then they over here picking up chicks at the same one time, and I'm just like, yeah, nah, bro, this ain't. But I never thought myself to be a jealous person, and then they pinpointed it, and I had to sit down with myself. But like I said, I was blessed to be with people that were open enough to talk to me about it, and open enough for me to talk to them about my feelings, and asking myself why I feel this way. And I had to make some serious hard changes. And it was like, do I want to change for this person, or do I want to change for myself? Because it's easy to say you're going to change for people. Nah, you don't change for people. You change for yourself. You adjust yourself because it is a part of growth.
Right.
What are you trying? Like everybody's always, oh, I'm grown, I'm growing, I'm different. But are you growing in one way, or are you growing in multitude facets of way?
Right.
Because as you grow an adult, you're growing in age. Fine. Are you growing in wisdom? Are you growing in knowledge? Are you growing mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? Right. Are you putting yourself in situations and knowing that this is a learning process? This isn't something that's going to be detrimental to your health. This is a learning process. This is growth. Are you going to grow from this, or are you going to remain the same?
Right.
And it's the challenge of being in a non-monogamous relationship. People that are 100% monogamous, I'm not saying they're going to miss out, but you're doing something that's always been the same, and you're not challenging yourself. You're remaining in the same situation. And I'm not saying it ain't working for everybody out there. I'm not saying, for those of you that's out there that's in that monogamy relationship, ain't missed a step not one time. Hey, bravo to you. I love it.
Right.
Everybody else though out there, we're questioning ourselves, we're guessing, and we're second guessing our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions with people. Ask yourself, ask that person, have that conversation. And most importantly, if you feel like you can't talk to that person, then you really need to evaluate your relationship.
It's a sign. Yep.
You really need to evaluate relationships, because if a person is not trying to listen to you, but they're reacting just to react, they're waiting for you to finish so they can respond with a reaction of a negative light. Then it's whether you, and I hate to say this, I'm a big fan of marriage. Whether you married or not, have that conversation. Y'all need to sit down and reevaluate. Are we the right people for each other, or do we get into the situation assuming one thing or another? Because, like I said, in a non-monogamous relationship, it allows you to change. It allows you to adapt.
Grow.
People grow and they change. When you're in a monogamous relationship, that person is that person now. 4 years from now, they become a mother. They become a father. Now you're not a single person. You're a married person. Now you're a parent with a person. Now you're a parent with a car. Now you're a parent with a mortgage. Now you're not only a parent, but you're a husband and a wife with all of these levels of responsibility. So every time anything changes in your life, it is also being a sense of growth. But then when you're a monogamous person, I'm not saying that everybody can't do it, but it's like it is more so challenging, because now you got to look at the individual next to you, and as they're growing and they're changing, you got to ask yourself, do you like who they're changing into? Do they like who you're changing into? Because you can go from the monogamous person that's having fun all day with the family and this, that, and the third, and then later on in life, you become a recluse.
Right.
You become stoic. You become you know what I mean? You become a person that's like a shut-in, and your partner they still got a lot of life in them, and they want to go out and they want to go do these things, and you're like, nah, I'm good. You can go by yourself. You setting yourself up for somebody else to come in that place and entertain them for that time being. Entertain them for that time being. It ain't gonna be for a long time, but it's gonna be for a short time. But it's gonna be a time. So I say for me that monogamy, non-monogamous relationships were definitely a learning experience for me. Definitely a learning experience. I encourage everybody to give it a shot. I mean, of course, everybody does it when we're not together. When we're together, we're together. When we're not, we're not. Yeah,
Everybody doesn't do that.
Yeah, not everybody does it. Not everybody does that. But like I said, I've been around different people. So like when we together, we together. When we not, we not. And that conversation is had. But then it's like, yo, really have those conversations with people. Understand who they are and try to learn them, because every day we learning and we growing. So you gotta.
Right.
I'm not the same person I was in high school, and neither are you, Jordan. Neither are any of us. Right. We're always growing. We're new people now. We're different people.
Definitely are. Yeah.
Yeah, so we doing things differently. We moving in different ways and formats, and it's very interesting to see how that dynamic unfolds for a lot of people, and that is definitely one of the things I would say about non-monogamous relationships were always fun for me.
And I think that's something to consider, like when you're talking about growth, is that while everybody is growing, not everybody wants to grow. There are some people who are perfectly content with where they are right now, and growth is very uncomfortable and undesirable. And you have to look at yourself if you're in a dynamic with that person or that kind of person and be able to say, am I content in a dynamic where I have a partner that has no desire to grow? And if this partner has no desire to grow, are they going to be okay with me continuing to grow? Is this a safe environment for me to grow in, even if they choose not to? Right? I think that comes back to the importance of communication and being able to have those conversations and being able to say, yeah, okay, we're growing in two different directions, but the soil is still fertile, so we can just be in two different directions together. Or recognizing, hey, we're growing in two different directions and this just ain't it. And that's okay too.
No, it is. As you were saying that, my mind was looking at it as like, okay, cool, we're growing. And then I look at it like, all right, so think of a greenhouse. You got a multitude of plants, right? And now let's say the person you with is the tree in the center of that greenhouse. Now that greenhouses don't move. They stay in one place, don't they? So now this tree that was rooted in the foundation of this greenhouse is growing, and it's growing exponentially, and it's getting bigger. What do you do as the person who is comfortable not growing?
Yeah.
You are the greenhouse. The person you are with is the tree. Now, when things are not being made to adjust, the tree breaks through the greenhouse and destroys it.
Or now somebody comes and decides to chop down the tree.
And that part, now that is not a good option.
But it's a reality. That's what you're. No,
it is a reality.
Really uncomfortable reality. So I'm gonna try and chop you back down.
Yeah, there's that reality. But for me, I look at it like this. All right, cool. So now we're the greenhouse. So this person is growing exponentially. Mm-hmm. So I'm the greenhouse. So the tree is a vital source to everything around it. So I got to expand the hole. I got to expand the branches of that greenhouse. The house is still the same, but now the roofing of it is moved open up more.
Yeah, it expands. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the tree is still. So people, I would say that's a weird analogy,
no,
but you know what I'm saying? People probably need to look at themselves as a greenhouse and your partner as a tree growing. You don't want to cut down the tree because the tree is a beautiful tree. It's
not necessarily, maybe not the greenhouse, but you're the farmer or the planter or the person growing it. Because
because it's like the farmer and the planter. The farmer and the planter, they go in and out. They're moving. The greenhouse is stationary, and we're talking about people who don't want to grow. We're talking about people who are
Okay.
comfortable.
Okay, I see what you're saying here.
They are the greenhouse. They are comfortable being in the house. They don't want to. They don't want to level up. They don't want to. They don't want to expand wide. They just want to stay right here. But then you want the tree, and you want the tree. You love the tree, but the tree is growing. But you love the tree. So without disrupting your comfortability, without disrupting your stagnant place, the house has to be shifted. It has to be molded. It has to be made to suit the tree as it grows.
But that's still disruption because now you busting a hole in the top of the greenhouse.
And that is disruption, but then it's like a minute sense of disruption because the door into the greenhouse is the same. The dimensions from width to length is still the same. However, the ceiling is opening out more. That's it. And you got to look at it like, yo, it's a small thing for something big to grow out of. It's weird. It's weird. It's different.
Struggling with this analogy because I know so many.
You know what I'm saying? It's my mind. It's my mind. It's my mind doing work. Yeah,
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
It's different. It's different. It's very different for a lot of people. But like I said, that's a very scary thing, though, because that is like deadly scary for me to be with somebody who's stagnant. And I often ask myself, "What am I capable of being a stagnant person like that?" And then I look and I'm like, I got my moments of where I'm kind of stagnant, but then I got my moments where I'm just a random curveball. I'm like, I'm stagnant this week. I'm stagnant this week, but next week I'm like, hey.
But it's not even that you're stagnant. Because I wouldn't even consider that stagnancy because the reality is plants aren't constantly having this exponential growth spurts, right? There's times when you look at your plant and it looks exactly the same. It doesn't mean it's not growing. It just looks the same, right? But then there's times where 1 minute you look at the plant, you come back the next day and all of a sudden there's a whole flower that grew on it. And you're like, dude, what the heck? I just left here, right? So it's not that you're not growing. It's not that you're stagnant. The growth just isn't always visible, right? And then going back to your greenhouse analogy, that reminded me, some people are just content with living a life without their primary needs met. Because of going back to that commitment to relationships. And for me, it just sounds so sad, but that's the reality. There are some people who are going to say, because I'm committed to this relationship dynamic, even though you're not meeting my primary needs, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to rock it out in martyrdom. And I'm going to sacrifice myself for this relationship dynamic. And it takes a very special type of person to rock that out. Because not everybody has the fortitude, that's the word, fortitude to be in that type of situation. That's not me. I look at that and I'm like, that's not healthy. I'm just going to go. I'm going to go. But, there are some people who want to be that greenhouse with the top busting open and the rain coming in when the storm's coming in. And they're like, but it's okay because I'm still, all the rest of my frames are still up, even though I got this big old gaping hole in the top of me.